Russia tried to join NATO in 2000. That's a fact. Okay. They tried to join NATO. So just think about this. NATO exists to keep Russia contained. Mm-hmm. It exists as a bulwark against Russian territorial expansion. And whether or not Russia has any territorial ambitions is another question. Like, why would it? It's the largest landmass in the world, whatever. But that's why it exists. So if Russia seeks to join NATO, it is by definition a sign that NATO's job is done here. We can declare victory and go home. The fact that they turned him down is like so shocking to me, but it's true. Then he approaches the next president, George W. Bush. That was with Bill Clinton at the end of his term in 2000. He approaches the next president and said, let's, in our next missile deal, let's align on this and we'll designate Iran as our common enemy. Iran, which is now, effectively in league with Russia, thanks to our insane policies. But, and George W. Bush, to his credit, is like, well, that seems like kind of an innovative, good idea. And Condi Rice, who's like one of the stupidest people ever to hold power in the United States, if I can say, who's like monomaniacally anti-Russia because she had an advisor at Stanford who was, or something during the Cold War. No, we can't do that. And Bush is just weak. And so he agreed. It's like, what? That is crazy. If you're fighting with someone and the person says, you know what, actually our interests align, and you've spent 80% of your mental disk space on hating me and opposing me or whatever, but actually we can be on the same team. If you don't at least see that as progress, like what? Why would you, if your interest is in helping your country, what's the counter argument? I don't even understand it. And no one has even addressed any of this. The war of Russian aggression. Yeah, it was a war of Russian aggression for sure. But how did we get there? We got there because Joe Biden and Tony Blinken dispatched Kamala Harris, who does not freelance this stuff, okay? Fair to say, to the Munich Security Conference 2 years ago this month, February 2022, and said in a press conference to Zelensky, poor Zelensky, we want you to join NATO. This was not in a backroom thing. This was in public at a press conference. Knowing, because he said it like 4,000 times, we don't want nuclear weapons from the United States or NATO on our western border. Duh. And days later, he invaded. So like, what is that? And if you even, I raised that question in my previous job and I was denounced as, of course, a traitor or something. But okay, great, I'm a traitor. What's the answer? What's the answer? These are not into, Toria Nuland, who I know, not dumb, hasn't helped the U.S. in any way, an architect of the Iraq War, architect of this disaster, one of the people who destroyed the U.S. dollar. Okay, fine. But she's not stupid. So like, you're trying to get a war by acting that way. What's the other explanation? By the way, NATO didn't want Ukraine because it didn't meet the criteria. So for admission. So why would you say that? Because you want a war. That's why. And that war has enriched a lot of people to the tune of billions. So I don't care if I sound like some kind of left-wing conspiracy nut because I'm neither left-wing nor a conspiracy nut. Tell me how I'm wrong.